So this is the animal reproduction course. In this course, we will have 6 chapters. Can you see the screen?
Yes.
Okay, just 1 second. Okay. In the first chapter, we will talk about the meiosis and the gametogenesis. And then in the second chapter, we will talk about the reproductive messengers, then about the gonadogenesis, how the gonads are generated during the embryological state. Then we will talk about the male reproductive system, the female reproductive system, and at the end about the fertilization, how it occurs. For this first chapter, we will talk about the meiosis and the gametogenesis. What does gametogenesis means? Can anybody tell me?
Formation of gametes.
The generation of gamete, the formation of gametes, yes. And the meiosis, where does it occur?
And the gonads.
During
In the gametes, more specifically, only in the sexual cells, which are called the gametes, and not in the somatic cells or the non-sex cells. Okay, so the meiosis only occurs in the gametes, and that's why to understand the reproduction and to be able to talk more in details about the reproduction, we should talk about the meiosis first. So the reproduction is a biological process providing the production of new individuals or offsprings. We should have a reproduction to generate new individuals. It's a main characteristic shared by living species, and by the reproduction, we can prevent the extinction of the species. Now, the gametogenesis, as we have said, is the process of production of reproductive cells or of gametes. Now, those reproductive cells are called the gametes, and we have 2 types of gametes, the female gametes and the male gametes. The female gametes, they are called the ova, or the eggs or ovum. And the male gametes, they are called the spermatozoa or sperms. Just 1 minute. Okay. Now, when we talk about the gametogenesis, so we should talk about the formation or the production of sperms, which is called the spermatogenesis. And we will talk about the oogenesis, which is the production of eggs. The oogenesis takes place in ovaries in the females, and the spermatogenesis takes place in the testes. Okay. And now the gonochoric species and hermaphrodite species can can have the reproduction and gametogenesis. So the gametogenesis occurs in gonochoric and hermaphrodite species. As you know, the gonochoric species are the species having separated sexes. And we have female individuals and male individuals. However, the hermaphrodite species are the dioecious species, which mean they are the species having the same sexes at the same time. Can you see the mouse when I move it or not?
Yes, we can.
Now, the gametogenesis occurs through meiosis. So to produce gametes, to be able to produce gametes, we should have the meiosis. Okay. And so the meiosis occurs during gametogenesis, and it's a division of eukaryotic cells. It always happens in eukaryotic cells. And what is the result of the meiosis? We will have haploid gametes or haploid cells at the end. We will start from a diploid cell and we will end by having haploid cells. So the meiosis allows the production of haploid sex cells from diploid cells. Normally, before that the meiosis starts, and before also with the start of the mitosis, not only the meiosis, we should have a DNA replication. Because as you know, in the cell cycle, we have the interphase, which is divided into G1 as G2, and then we will have the meiosis or the mitosis, where we will have the cell division. In the during the interphase, we will have a duplication of the DNA. So the DNA will get replicated during the interphase, and more specifically during the S phase of the interphase. And then when we will reach the meiosis or the mitosis, we should have a cell having a complete set of chromosomes, 2N chromosomes, each one of them having 2 chromatids. So before the start of the meiosis, we should have a replication of the DNA during the interphase. And when we will start the meiosis, we will start from a cell having 2N chromosomes, a complete set of chromosomes, which means for the humans 46 chromosomes. And each chromosome should have 2 sister chromatids. Now, the meiosis has 2 sequential divisions. We have the meiosis 1, or the first meiotic division, followed by the meiosis 2. During the meiosis 1, we will have the separation of homologous chromosomes. So the meiosis 1 will allow the separation of homologous chromosomes in 2 different cells. And the meiosis 2 will allow the separation of the sister chromatids of the same chromosome in 2 different cells. So the meiosis 2 will lead to the separation of chromatids. The meiosis 2 is like the mitosis. We will have separation of sister chromatids. However, the meiosis 1 will lead to the separation of homologous chromosomes. And at the end of the meiosis, as you know, we started from one cell, diploid cell. At the end of the meiosis, we will have 4 cells. Each one is a haploid cell. We say it's 1N, having one set of chromosomes. So it's 1N cell, haploid cell, and each chromosome has 1 chromatid. So this is the result of the meiosis. Now, the meiosis is also divided, or each meiotic division is divided into a prophase, metaphase, anaphase, and telophase. We are going to see this right now in the slides. So the meiosis, yes.
في تلاميذ بدهم يفوتوا بس ما عم يقدروا يفوتوا.
اوكي نحسن.
عم ينبعت لهم لينك غلط، عم بيفوتوا على ميتينج غير.
اوكي.
بليز إذا فيك تعملي كوبي لللينك وتحطيه بالتشات وأنا ببعت لهم إياه جروب.
اوكي. يعني أحسن. طب رح وقف شوية الريكوردينج.